Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. This is Bucket Ponds and my name is Terry. Today we are building the dollar store Nano Aquarium. Now I do have a cold right now, my voice is a little off, so I hope you can bear with me. We can still enjoy the video here. But we're starting with this ceiling food container from the local dollar store. Nothing too fancy. It's got a nice silicone lined lid here, which can lock into a like airtight position. We're not too worried about that. I'm not going to make this a sealed ecosphere, so we'll most likely run it with no lid at all. This little container is 34 fluid ounces, and the goal of this aquarium is to grow some more of our grass plants. I got this for really cheap at the local dollar store. Nothing too fancy. It is a food safe container though, so it'll be perfectly fine as an aquarium. We're going to take this label off and set up something nice. So for this aquarium, I will be using some store-bought shells. Nothing fancy here. These were very cheap. These were $1. And they were so cheap, in fact, I know for sure that they didn't use any kind of glaze or paint or any kind of chemicals with these because whoever made them just wouldn't have made any money. That's how cheap they were. But they look good. They're pretty decent. And they're just a collection of standard shells. We have some oceanic shells. I've had another package of these soaking for about 3 weeks now, so I'm sure they'll be completely safe in the aquarium. And they'll add a little decor, a little flair to our tank. I'm also going to use a couple of my standard marble stones. Here's a nice pink one. I like marble because it just has a very strong contrast to other items in the aquarium. And it adds a little calcium for our snails, which we love our snails, you know. So we're just going to set these right here. And for our final piece of hardscape, we will be using pool filter sand. It's easy to work with. It's a nice looking beach sand, and it'll do well in our project. Now the main purpose of this aquarium is to grow some more of our grass plants. We have some small grass plants that I acquired from a local pond a couple years ago. And I just want to grow some more of it. It grows pretty slowly, but yeah, I haven't seen it elsewhere, and I'd like to reproduce it, so just so I have more to work with. There's an example of an aquarium using the grass plants that I'm talking about. Nice little nano tank. Nothing fancy. Just a beautiful little project to sit in your windowsill. And yeah, that's what I'm going for. So it'll look a little bit like this, a little different, you know. Keep in mind I am going to use some items in here that I did not use in this little nano tank. But I think you get where I'm going with this. So let's wrap this back up, put this one back on the windowsill, and let's start up our new tank. The first thing we're going to do is, of course, pull that label off of there. Now with this style of plastic container, the label comes off really easily. As you can see right here, it's just peeling right off. There we go. Now we have a nice clear container. Now my first idea was to lock it in, seal it up, and run it like this. Like this really awesome upside down a bubble top type container, but unfortunately the seal here is not watertight, so that won't work. Instead, we're going to go for a more traditional style of an open aquarium right there. Now we will, of course, populate this aquarium with our beautiful beloved bladder snails and some of our ostracods. And let's be honest, there'll probably be a fair amount of paramecium in here as well. But that's okay. That's our goal with this tank, so let's set it up. But while that's settling, let's go ahead and apply some of our hardscape, particularly the marble stones. Alright, there we go. It has settled a little bit, and we're looking pretty good. Let's apply some of our marble stones now. I like to put these in the back because they are fairly large stones for this small of a nano aquarium. And keep in mind, these are just marble chunks from Home Depot. You can get like 25 pounds for like $5, $8, something like that. Unfortunately, everything's going up in cost because of the horrible political situation we find ourselves in. But we're just gonna pile up our marble, make something nice here in the background. And there might be a little bit of debris that makes it in with the pool filter sand, but that's okay. And my goal with the shells is to create some neat, unique chunks of hardscape, and to give our snails something to rasp on to help with the calcium. Here's a more traditional style shell. This has got a really nice color. It'll look pretty cool in the aquarium. I'm going to put it back here, I think. Now we have a couple mystery snail shell, or a couple Malaysian trumpet snail shells. These might be from a different species, but it's a very similar shape. You know, there's only so many different snail shell shapes out there. Now these have a nice conical design, so I'm gonna like stick them like right there. Or, you know, I might maybe move them in the back a little bit since they're kind of tall. I'm gonna do something like that. And we're just gonna brush our sand back a little bit. Move that one shell over. We want to create a sense of depth in the tank. And by making the forward area lower, it makes the tank look deeper. That's like Takashi Amano once said, that it's fun to set up a big aquarium, but the real fun is setting up a small aquarium and making it look big. And I subscribe to that idea completely. We're going to put one or two more mystery snail shells back here in the background. I think it'll be pretty cool to see our bladder snails climbing on these other shells and kind of interacting with the remnants of their long lost cousins from the ocean. Unless these really are mystery snail shells, in which case they're freshwater from a pond somewhere. Alright, and now we're going to add a couple more clam shells. Just because these are just standard looking little clam shells. I'm sure they have a species which can be identified, but I unfortunately don't know enough about that stuff. This shell actually has some kind of old limpet or something on it, which is kind of cool. I'm pretty sure everything in here is dead. I don't think we have to worry about any kind of strange organisms appearing from these shells, but if we do get something like that happening, it'll be pretty interesting to watch. Now for our final piece of hardscape, we will be adding an apple snail shell. That's right, I found apple snail shells in there. At least I'm pretty sure this is an apple snail shell. This is the largest item in the tank, and we're going to put it right here, and we're going to kind of bury it a little bit. Alright, now we need to fill this up the rest of the way with water and let it settle some before we plant our grass. Alright guys, it's still a little cloudy in there, but I've added the rest of the water and I'll let it sit for a few minutes, so I think we'll be ready to go, and it's going to look great. Now we're about to plant our grass plants, and here's one right here. I do not know the species, but I do know that I got these from a local pond, and they form some real nice little like palm fronds. You saw them in that previous container, so I think they'll look really great in here. I've been growing this grass plant for a few years now, so I'm not an expert with it, but I'm somewhat familiar with what it likes to do and how it likes to act. When planting like this, I like to use my 12-inch tweezers. Even though this is a nano aquarium, this is great for just getting a plant down into the sand and keeping it there. Which, believe it or not, is a skill that I had to learn when I started doing this stuff. Turns out it's very hard to plant something like this with your fingertips, because the sand will just pull away. But by kind of like wiggling it down into the sand a little bit, and then even brushing some over, your plant will stay down there. I decided to include some creeping Jenny, also called moneywort. This stuff is really easy to grow. I know a fair amount about it, and it's like almost 100% success rate on cuttings. So I think this will look great inside the Nano aquarium. I have a few pieces right here, and we're going to plant them right now. Same thing, we're using my tweezers. If you don't have a set of tweezers like this, you can get by just manually like sticking stuff in there with your fingertips, but it will not be easy, and your plants might not do as well. So I like to use the tweezers, and be mindful and not to squeeze too hard. If you're playing with similar species or with these exact plants, then they are pretty fragile. They're pretty soft. You don't want to squish them or break them. So there we have it. We're all planted up. I know you can't see the moneywort too much right now, but that's okay. The water will lose this cloudy effect after a while. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of our bladder snails and throw them right in. Right in there. There we go. A little bit of duckweed came along as well. And probably a little bit of Nutella macroalgae made it in there. We're including water samples from one of my most successful aquariums. This is full of ostracods and some other creatures. It is also a very stable aquarium, so I know that this nano tank starts with a good amount of beneficial bacteria. Nothing to it, we're just gonna inject our water samples right there. You might be wondering, why would I intentionally cross-contaminate a new aquarium? Why would I take water out of an old fish tank and put it into here? And why would I want ostracods in my aquarium, let alone bladder snails, right? Well, this is a nano aquarium, and in my opinion, it's fit for nano creatures. Now, cross-contaminating the tank with water from an old aquarium is it's an established idea in the hobby. You see, in a fish tank, everything inside, including the water, is full of bacteria. And depending on how well you built your aquarium and how well you run it, that bacteria may be useful, it may be detrimental. In most aquariums, though, the bacteria that grow in the water and grows on the hardscape and the sand, the soil and such, it's actually useful, and it helps to accelerate the nitrogen cycle. It's part of the nitrogen cycle. So by including samples of an established aquarium, I've kick-started the cycle in this tank, so it should be able to keep up with the very small number of bladder snails and ostracods that we started with. And that's another reason why I didn't start with a big handful of bladder snails. You know, we want to start small, let the tank catch up, let the cycle get established, let the bacteria begin to grow everywhere, let the plants get, you know, rooted and where they need to be. But as all this is happening, the snail population will be slowly increasing until eventually we hit a nice point where we have bladder snails and ostracods living in here, helping us grow our plants and generally making for a nice little aquarium. Here's a look at the tank from above. You can see some of the bladder snails in there starting to get established and to explore. And you can see all of our various plants. We have our unknown grass plant and we have our creeping Jenny. Overall, I think this tank will be a nice addition to the collection. I think we'll have a nice place to grow some bladder snails and some ostracods for use in other projects. And of course, we'll have more grass plants to play with, more creeping Jenny to play with. You can see some duckweed made it into the surface layer. We have some Florida mud midget and some Lemna minor traditional duckweed. That's totally okay with me. If you hate duckweed, then you're probably on the wrong channel. So anyway, guys, I'm Bucket Ponds, and this is my new nano aquarium. It is an open ecosphere style aquarium, meaning that it's planted and designed to work into a balance and to take care of itself for the most part. We will be adding cucumber slices and the occasional little pinch of fish food, just to keep things going and keep our snails fed. Now for the final part of this aquarium, I have acquired a small turntable, which will allow us to rotate the tank freely and to witness it from any given angle without issue. This is a pretty big deal for me, and I'm very happy with this project. Alright guys, there she is, the dollar store Nano Aquarium. Total cost of about $10, and I used plants and pets from my other projects. Everything you see here has been breeding and growing under my care for a number of years now. I just wanted to make the point that you don't need to spend a lot of money to set up a nice Nano Aquarium, potentially competition level. You could go even further than I did and really make a nice hardscape in here. You can do anything you want with these Nano tanks, and they're a lot of fun to work with. So anyway guys, my name is Terry, and this is Bucket Ponds. I hope you enjoy the channel. I hope you like this video. I'll make a point to give you an update on this tank in about a month or so. And I'll keep you posted if anything happens, anything astounding comes out of here, anything like that, any new life forms show up. You'll be the first to know. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. You know, follow me around YouTube. I have a ton of videos. If you like this one, you probably like some of my other stuff as well. And if you're watching this, we probably have some similar interests. One last thing, guys. I did take a risk by using store-bought shells, and I most likely got the species wrong for what snail made the shell or what clam made the shell, etc. You know, it's probably not an apple snail shell, but maybe a close relative, things like that. Just bear with me. I was doing my best to identify them, just based loosely on shape and size, and just what I've seen in the pet trade. So yeah, I probably misidentified some of those shells, but maybe you can correct me in the comments and let me know. And if you're going to use store-bought shells, make sure they're not painted, make sure they're not dyed, and definitely soak them for as long as possible before you use them in any project. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, do not use store-bought shells unless you know what you're doing. Well, alright guys, there she is, our dollar store Nano Aquarium. Built for about $10 altogether. Great place for bladder snails and plants to grow. Ostracods should be happy in there, no problem. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. My name is Terry, and this is Bucket Ponds. You can find me elsewhere online. Pinterest, Facebook, we're all over the place. Etsy. If you would like to purchase some of my macroalgae, which of course comes with some bladder snails and tons of other things, you can catch me on Etsy. Very simple, etsy.com/shop/bucketponds. And yeah, I'm elsewhere. Pinterest, Facebook, I'm all over the place, guys. Just look me up. Remember, the name is Bucket Ponds, just like it sounds, ponds in buckets. Yeah, nothing fancy about that. Doing things on a budget and having fun. So I hope you enjoy the channel, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.